Hello and welcome. This is Alchemistexe, and this is the weekly update for July 22nd. So this week we have a job plus for the global unit Morrigan. There's a new memento for Nesha and Lillith, which is also all global exclusive, which from my initial impression of it, looks like it's pretty solid. It gives a good snowball for all attack and agility. So if you are heavily invested in those units, that's going to be a noteworthy memento. For everyone else, probably not. And then also very important is it's the final week of the Slime Collab. So make sure to do everything collab related while that is still here, because if this is your first collaboration, they don't rerun in global. Japan gets them sometimes. Global has so far never gotten anything that wasn't already a Gumi property. So definitely keep that in mind, just as far as the equipment pieces, the farmable gears, if you're going out after the memento, all of that has to be this week, and then slime stuff is no longer accessible. So yeah, that is everything I have to say introduction wise. Now let's go ahead and take a deeper look at the content. Okay, so the first stop is going to be the Ascension Trials, where we'll find Morrigans as well as any of the other rerunning job pluses for global units. Right now, they are all rerunning, so if you're missing any, I definitely recommend grabbing them. They're not all equal, some of them are on the Asuka Zhang end, others are on the Siegfried end, and right now, at least for me, it remains to be seen where exactly Morrigan falls. I've just got my fingers crossed that they address some of the issues in her kit, because it's kind of a shame having such high stats and not really good ways to apply those stats. As far as the level itself goes, pretty easy. By the time you're done getting all of the milestones for the levels, you should have way more than you need. So no big deal there. I was also surprised that they didn't restrict the damage types as much as they have in some of the past levels, but I'm not complaining about that. The other thing for global is the Scorching by the Shore event, and this is a more kind of gimmicky little, usually it's storyline kind of thing. It's mostly for fun. But if you don't care about any of that, I still recommend running through the levels just to get those coins, because the Goeta coins have a lot of good stuff in the shop. So just, kind of part of a nutritious, grindy RPG diet. All the materials you're looking for there. Definitely recommend that. And so that's it for the global stuff. There is also the port raid. So if this is your first port raid, it's a pretty simple premise. There's these bosses. You get 3 attempts to fight them per day, and you can't use the same units more than once. So it's team composition is very, very important. So what I recommend doing is going into this little trial section and learning as much as you can about the boss and its attributes, because sometimes they have innate attributes like immune to this damage type or highly resistant, or they'll have a reactive that punishes certain damage types. So get super familiar with that. It's a lot more like rehearsal based. Like you want to have like a very specific setup and execution memorized to fight these bosses, as opposed to a lot of other content is a lot more friendly to improvising. This is not the case. So if you are into it, then that is how you would conduct that. It can be a little fun. There's definitely like types of units like Voda, Zahar that just excel at that, are almost made for it. And I think Nesha is another one that would fall into that camp. I know they're not for everyone, but sometimes it's just fun to fight a boss with like millions of health. Especially if you have an active port. I don't have an active port. If anyone is looking for one, I don't think you can join during an event, but after, I'm not too discriminating. I'm pretty just like okay with casual players, new players, that kind of thing. It's just for fun in this case. So yeah, that is it for the content portion. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the banners. Alright, the first banner on the list is this paid one for global. Now, we had one of these that was very similar, except with Genesis units, and I thought that one was really good, but that's because Genesis is in a different place rarity-wise as global. Like, every global unit has full enlightenment available in the shop, much more transmutable friendly than some of the super rare Genesis units. So getting, like, say you pulled an old unit, so you got like 100 Asuka shards, which she's a godly unit, but maybe you don't need those anymore. And then you get 25 shards of like, a few old ones, a few new ones. Maybe if those 25 shards make a difference with transmuting, but just getting 25 shards of Emrys is very different than getting 25 shards of like Nyx, just because of that difference in rarity. That, and it's not the weekend yet, so I definitely, if for anybody who does paid banners, I always recommend waiting, unless it's just like so ridiculously good that you know 100% you're going to do it regardless, but that doesn't happen that often. So moving on, let's look at 3 banners that I'm not going to recommend because all 3 of these units are still in the Louise shop right now, and it just makes so much more sense to transmute them. Also, pretty much the same thing for these 2. Right now, I think Nesha is the only one in the shop, but in general, when global things rerun, you can find them. So, or maybe pick them up from the coin banner, which we'll talk about in a bit. I don't like this style of banners. 2 times almost nothing is still almost nothing. Now there's finally a banner that some people might want to pull on. Now, not for acquisition's sake, but rather just for the coins. So say you've got the collab units that you want already, but you want to enlighten them more, then this is a great way to do that. Because you'll just get a ton of coins. Like, especially the more, if you got all 3, then I recommend it even more, because if you did get lucky and pulled them, that's 100 shards right there. But even if you have terrible pulls across the way, you get good coins, and then that can help you. And then you can also buy the otherworldly shards in that shop as well. So for some people, this could be good. Now there's a kind of interesting one too. If you are lacking any of the older global units, this might be worth your while. Maybe I wouldn't recommend, spending too many gems on it, but, maybe a lap, because just, if you don't have Asuka, if you don't have Zheng Yi especially, you could probably survive without Roxy, Zeke, and Minerva, or even Xion, but even though Xion's a really good Wind Veiler, but that's not what we're talking about today. It's just kind of interesting because most 3 steps are just total garbage, but the fact that you get one of them guaranteed and you can get 150 shards worth, it's sort of like a playing catch-up type of banner. So for those of you in that position, it might be worth a few discount tickets. Then we've got a pretty typical banner that runs whenever global runs. It's just the coin banner. Don't expect to get anything specific that you want to get, but you'll get a lot of coins. So if you're looking to enlighten somebody like Emrys or Red or Eliza or Nesha, then yeah, this is a great way to do that because their shards can be kind of hard to come by. So I always definitely recommend coin banners for people looking to enlighten the units that are available in the coin shop. But do be mindful of how much they cost, because after a certain point, they get less and less valuable. Now we've got a 9-step that has the brand new memento for Nesha and Lillith, and as well as Roxy's. If you want it, this is how you get it. I don't really only recommend it for people heavily invested into those 2 Goeta units, but that's that. Now we've got a pretty interesting one. So naturally you can't get the brand new one, but every other global memento is on here. So if there's 6 that you want to get, I think this is pretty good. This could be a good way to spend some discount tickets if you both want global mementos that you don't have, and you're not interested in anything else on here. I would just keep in mind that there's no guarantees on this until step 5. So depending on how many discount tickets you have, you just don't want to throw those gems away. But if you're willing to take a bit of a gamble, then, it could be all right. Just given that the style of this banner is at the very least interesting. And then other than that, there's some old banners. Last chance to get one of these 2 mementos. Another good place if you're just looking to empty out some discount tickets, because even if you don't get anything good, you could fill up a bit on the otherworldly enlightenment shards, because that's just a very, very important resource to have. As far as god killers, other POTK units, any collab units like the current ones, just being able to make up for the lack of their shards is, in my opinion, makes them one of the more valuable resources in the game. But yeah, that's it for the weekly update. Hopefully for those of you that do summon, I hope you have good luck, and I will see you all next time.